As a cultural center in the Boston and Brookline area, we host a variety of community history and automotive history events. This event here is pretty special because it's kind of like a blend of those two events. We have awesome automotive history with Audi Quattros, and it helps that it's a local team, local shop that is running this show. So I love events like this where it ties everything we do together.
Thank you again for watching our little history over here. And I'm pretty sure somewhere in your mind you have how you can do that. How can you drive it? What have to done to do this? We have like many talented people over here. We have Dennis in the back. I know he's a race car driver already, and I want to drag him in somehow. And I would like to give the microphone to Greg. He's a director of Mount Washington, and he can explain what you have to do to go for hill climbing.
So like Frank said, I run like Mount Washington, but also all of our local events, the smaller ones, the ones that you get to meet everybody and hang out with your friends, really. It's like I tell everybody, it's 75% hanging out with your friends and about 25% racing cars. But if you want to get involved, essentially all you need is a car that you're willing to race and drive up some roads that are not in the world's greatest condition, but if you have good suspension, then you'll have a lot of fun. But really, you just need a helmet, a fire extinguisher, and an air horn, and a good attitude, right? And like I said earlier, if you showed up with none of those and you're nice, by the time tech is over, you'll have everything you need and you'll have a great weekend. I know basically everybody carries spares because we've been there and we want to make sure that, you know, if you show up, you have a great weekend. But yeah, like Frank said, if you have any questions or you guys want to get involved, feel free to reach out. I'm always available by email, text, or the dreaded phone call. But, you know, that's basically it.
For those of us who are interested but have never done this before, can you explain the concept of like the fastest time you can go in a streetcar before you get disqualified or you have to put a cage in?
Yes, for sure. So essentially, I think mostly to please the insurance company, we have a time that you can't go faster than in a car without a cage. And so at every hill, I think it's pretty fast, but I haven't raced an uncaged car in a long time. So I don't know. Some people complain, some people don't. But essentially, it's a quick time. And in a car that's well set up, you'll come close to it and you'll have a lot of fun, but you just can't go faster than it. So like at a Scutney in an event where sub 3 minutes is like an extremely fast run, the breakout time is 3:20. And so, you know, if you're like me or a lot of the guys that we race with now, you'll show up in an uncaged car, you'll run maybe one season or two, and then you'll say, well, I got to find a cage builder because I'm going to keep doing this for a while and I want to go faster. So it's kind of like a good entry point to get in. And I don't know if I answered your question, but I hope I did. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you can break out, well, twice. Yeah, the first time you get a warning, and it's not a bad thing, right? Like I broke out in my Evo before I put a cage in it, and then I broke out a second time kind of on purpose, so I had to put a cage in it. But, you know, it's, I think less than 10 seconds is okay. More than 10 seconds, then it's you got to put a cage in it before you bring it back. And it's 2 times in a weekend. So if you break out once at a Scutney and you come back at the fall event and you break out again, 1 breakout in a weekend is fine, but 2 is where you got to draw the line.
Can you talk to us a little bit about tires at Pikes Peak? We're watching the film, we're seeing dry pavement. Now it's paved all the way to the top, but we're also seeing snow on the sides, so we know the track isn't warm enough for what we would do at track tires. So what sort of tires do you pick from, and how do you decide which ones?
So what's specific about Pikes Peak is first the altitude. So the section where you saw the snow, which is the upper section, basically starts at 10,000 feet. And we go up the mountain at 3 a.m. for practice because we have to pack out everything and be off the hill at 9 a.m. So we do that in very cold conditions in the morning, which are not the race condition you are going to have on race day. So most of the teams have warming blankets to try to reproduce the tire temperature you will get at the start of a section. So actually the race is pretty long. Pikes Peak is 12.5 miles. So it's tire management for the whole hill. We tend to run pretty soft tires. So this year we're just running autocross tire RE71 RS. They have classes where it's a spec tire. So all the GT4 cars, so Aston Martin GT4s, Porsche GT4 class, it's a spec tire from Yokohama, and it's the Yokohama A052 that they are using for all the cars. So the Yoko A052 is also the tire I usually run at the local hill climbs. Hill climbs, it's always a cold start. You never have warm tires when you get to the start line. There is no warm-up section, so you need something that gets to temp very quickly. So even on the short hill climb, so you will see on the table after if you want, but we have a cutout of all the hill climbs of the region, and the big one in the back is Pikes Peak. There is Mount Washington and all the smaller ones. Most of the hill climbs we do here in the region are 3 mile long, so you are never gonna really overheat an autocross tire. It's unless you have a very, very heavy car and you are really pushing very hard. But the advantage is that they are gonna grip in the first hairpin. So Pikes Peak, people use tire warmers, but you have to be careful to not start with tires that are too hot because they have to last the whole hill. And if you are running softs, even if it's cold at the top, you're just going to burn the whole tire. We didn't have too much. You are allowed at Tech to have 2 sets of tires, one for the dry, one for the wet. And you have to get all the tires inspected before the race. So we just had a set of Hoosier wets in case it was getting really wet. Otherwise, the A052s or RE71 RS or even the older generation RE71R are tires that actually do very good in the damp. I won the overall Tascutney once in the rally car, which is already an underpowered car. That was a Subaru. But we dropped only 5 seconds in the wet compared to our dry time with those tires. So those are tires that get quickly to temp. They grip pretty well in those conditions. They are not the grippiest tire, but they are very forgiving. You are not running on a track, so the road is extremely bumpy. The grips is very marginal in a lot of the corners. The road is dirty. Pikes Peak, the whole top section of the mountain, when you are above the tree line, everything blows across the road. The rocks, the sand, everything. So the grip changes tremendously with the altitude. So it's for everybody. It's a game, and they are trying to figure out what is the best compromise, because Pikes Peak is actually 3 different hills: the bottom section, the middle, and the top. You need 3 different car setups. You need 3 different tunes for the ECU because of the density of the air. You technically need 3 different tire setups because the road configuration is very different, very fast and flowing at the bottom, a lot of very tight hairpin in the middle, and then those flying blind crests at the top with massive bumps. And so technically you need 3 suspension setups, 3 tire setups, 3 everything needs to be different. And so you have to be a compromise for something that's going to kind of work all the way to the top. So there was a Ford factory team that was there with Mustang Mach-E this year with Romain Dumas, and yeah, he has 3 completely different setup, and then he tries to run this setup on the 3 different sections of the hill to see what's going to work best on race day. And for him, unfortunately, this year we only got to race the bottom, so that didn't work very well for him, and he finished second. But you also have to do with your budget. So like the budget of the Ford team for this year was $40 million, so 40 for that one race. I think Frank's budget was slightly lower than that.
Yeah,
Jamie.
so I've raced Pikes Peak twice in a BMW. And the tricky thing about Pikes Peak compared to our local Vermont hill climbs is that it's 12 and a half miles long and has 5,000, 6,000 elevation gain from the start to the finish. So the weather can be very different at the bottom to the top. And for a small privateer such as myself, you turn up with, hopefully 2 sets of tires, race slicks that are pretty soft, and maybe some wet tires. Well, I didn't have wet tires, but luckily it was dry when I was about to start. Unfortunately, it wasn't dry at the top. So less than halfway through, on my first run, I had rain everywhere on slick tires, and you just have to learn to drive, in the rain without any grooves in your tires. That was, I was held up that first year by a Mitsubishi Evolution falling off the cliff and rolling down. It's a fairly famous video on YouTube. Without that, I would have got to the top on a dry run. But with that, the weather moved in, and I was stuck on the start line on slicks, and it was raining. So I dealt with that. I drove a bit slower. I lost some places, but got to the top. The second year, a similar thing. It was dry at the bottom. I had slicks on again, and it was hailing midway. So we had hail and sleet and, rain, of course. Not easy to manage, but you drive a little slower. You try and keep your car on the road, and you get to the top. So, the mountain can throw a lot at you, and you're not always prepared for it.
So you mentioned the ECU changes the tune a few times. You mentioned suspension also. So is it manually adjusted suspension, or is there also electronics that's adjusting the suspension based on the altitude?
So the answer is super simple. This car doesn't have an adjustable suspension, so there was nothing to adjust, just the driving. Some people have a switch actually in the car where they can change the tune as they go. And so if you have a lot of money and fancy stuff, you can also have the ECU adjust the suspension for you as well as the tune. So the tune can be engine management, but can also be suspension management. But a lot of it is finding the proper racing line, because the road, especially the top section of Pikes Peak, the road is extremely bumpy and has a part of the road that are collapsing with the frosting, defrosting, and the edges of the road. So you will see, you can look even at even when Loeb broke the record in the Peugeot 208 T16, which was the last internal combustion engine record at Pikes Peak. He explained actually while sometimes he's driving completely on the wrong side of the road or off the road just to avoid the bumps, because if he's driving on the racing line, even with best suspension he has, he would just fly off the road because it's too bumpy. Yeah, basically people use a tune when we do the practice, they cut the hill in 3 sections. There's the bottom, the middle, and the top. And basically you have a tune for each. So the marker where you go from one section to the other, to the next one, is pretty clear. I mean, when you know the road, you know exactly where you are at, and that's what you can do the switch.
Well, the new generation Pikes Peak cars right now, they're using, I know like 3 teams, they're using GRZ suspension, and they come up specifically the suspension with the magnetic ride. Basically, inside the driver, they can adjust with pressing the button for hardware or software. So that's going to be the future for all those cars. We don't have that. That's a 40 years old car, 40 years old design. But I think in the future or next year, if we have enough sponsor, maybe we can afford to have that too.
To the comment on the racing line, road racers have all the turns all memorized. When you go 12 miles, how do you, with that many turns, do you try and memorize the track and the turns?
I think that's for Jamie.
Yes. I memorize every single turn of every hill climb. And so the Pikes Peak, I can sit down and just close my eyes and I know every single corner. I really do memorize 12 and a half miles of corners. I think there are 156 turns at Pikes Peak. But But if you think about it, I mean, people can memorize music and play an entire piece of complex music just from memory. It's a pattern. You know, most people here could, if they drove to their work, they could sort of remember every turn that they took to drive to work because they do it every day. And so myself, I put in time and effort to learn a hill. I look at maps, I look at videos, I memorize the dangerous corners first. I think about where, you know, the important corners to get speed out of, to make the most speed on the straight. I memorize those next. And I just go through and, you know, down to the least important. There may be a kink that you don't even, you know, need to lift for. It's a kink. You just keep your foot flat on the ground. But some people, if they don't know that, they will lift off the throttle because they don't know what's around the corner. If you know it's a kink, you can keep full throttle even though you can't see around it. So yes, I memorize everything. Most hill climbers that I know of in the Northeast, when they get good, they know all of our hills, and we have 20 or 30, you know, maybe 35 corners on the longest hills, and that's not too hard to memorize. So the more you do it, and if you put time and effort in, you can memorize even 12 and a half miles worth.
Here, I want to tell you guys a good JV story real quick. Like 2 years ago, we went down to Pennsylvania to race with those guys in a new event none of us had ever been before. And our buddy came with some maps, right? And he said, "Oh, my girlfriend printed these if you guys want them." And Jamie goes, "Nah, I don't need that. I already memorized the road." And sure enough, he did. He was the fastest car that still had doors for the whole weekend. So, very impressive. He is a very impressive driver.
So how do you start?
How do you get started? Well, I mean, you just show up, right? Certainly, you can, for the local events, the New England Hillclimb Association events, just show up to an event with a car, register online, show up to an event with a car. There is a website. There's a Facebook page. The hillclimb.org is our website. New England Hillclimb Association on Facebook is our Facebook group. And then obviously you can find any one of us on there, or if you know Frank, talk to Frank and he'll get you in touch with the right people. Yeah, you can show up and volunteer. We have tons of options, but if you're interested in driving, I mean, I would say the best thing to do is come work an event first and just hang out and volunteer and see what it's all about. But if you're like most of us and you just want to drive, just, you know, it's totally an option too. Yeah, you can take a ride on a fam run. There's tons of options. So, yeah.
So end of the event, we're going to handing out some little brochure for Mount Washington, and that's going to have all the information for Greg, and you can call him up, you can send the email, and you can contact him. So when you have a brochure, you just contact him and you're good to go.
In a typical weekend at Okemo or Ascutney or Mount Washington, what's the format and how much seat time do you actually get per day?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So much like a track day, if somebody causes a black flag, we don't have a black flag, but if you're a track day guy, you'll understand that. You get less seat time. I would say at our local event, so Mount Washington's a completely separate beast in and of itself. It's like a 7-mile road, a lot of turns. So that event is similar to Pikes Peak in that we practice the top half one day and the bottom half the other day, and then one day of racing, and you'll get 2 runs total. It's a more of like a Pikes Peak type event where you're not getting a lot of seat time for the money you pay, but you're getting a lot of experience for the money you pay. Our local events, we try to get as many runs in as we can. I think most of our contracts with the state or the mountain, whoever owns the road, start at 8 o'clock in the morning, and as much as I don't want to be up at 8 o'clock in the morning or long before that to do a driver's meeting and tech and all that, we start right at 8 and we try to run all day. So in an average weekend, we can get, I don't know, 6 to 8, depends how smooth things are running. I think Patrick and I set a record. Patrick's a good friend of mine that races with us, but we set a record for most number of runs at Burke in the last 10 years that I've been coming around. It was like 12 or 13 runs in a weekend.
Per day?
I think per day we usually get 6 or more.
6 to 8 runs per day and about 2 to 3 minutes, 4 minutes per run.
Yeah. So, but our events aren't super expensive like some track days can be. So, and also we all hang out Friday and Saturday night. So it's a lot of socializing too. And like I said, 75% hanging out with your friends and 25% racing.
About $200 a weekend.
Yeah.
Last question on Mount Wash. I'm just curious on the hairpin turns, like going up from like 5.5 miles to 7. What's the fastest you go on those really tight hairpin turns, especially with the gravel section?
So it's actually all paved now. Mount Washington's paved completely to the top. But I've personally never raced Mount Washington, so I'll pass this one off to our more experienced.
Margaret, let's get Margaret.
Yeah, Margaret too.
I don't know, the tight turns maybe 35 miles an hour. But I think my fastest on the straightaway of Mount Washington was probably 88, 89 miles per hour.
That's a rally car. The rally cars are slow. They are limited on power.
And in my race cars, I've done Washington, I think, 4 to 5 times. The tighter corners are probably 45 miles an hour for a hairpin on tarmac. And down the straights, I've done about 100, 105 on the sort of the bendy straights. More power in my car.
400 horsepower, 200 horsepower.
I think there's a big difference also between two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. I started the hill climb in a Corvette C506 on those bumpy roads. It was extremely difficult to apply the power through the hairpins and find the right line to negotiate the hairpin at speed. And one day I broke the gearbox and I had to borrow my wife's car, which was a Subaru STI. And my first reaction after the start is like, this thing is so slow. And then I got in the first hairpin, I was like, this thing has power everywhere and has grip everywhere. So it's a very different experience. So if you have a four-wheel drive car, light car like Jimmy has, for example, the early generation GC Subarus, and you have grippy tires, you can actually carry quite a bit of speed, especially if the tires are warm. But if you have a two-wheel drive car on street tires and a lot of power, no traction control, even this is pretty slow because it's extremely difficult to drive and the power delivery is extremely violent. And so if you have something with a big turbo, you have a ton of lag, you are not going to carry any speed in the corner. You are going to stay foot to the floor. And it's like, no turbo, no turbo, no turbo. Finally, you get out and your head hit the seat, and then it goes everywhere and hell breaks loose. So it's hard to tell, but it can vary a lot depending on your car and your tires.
I really don't know anything about hill climb, but what's the air horn for?
So our events are not all, we have like 6 or 7 checkpoints depending on the event, and they're very much not line of sight. So if you have an incident and your car shuts off or anything, one long honk on the air horn is send everyone and everything because I'm not okay, and 2 short honks is I'm good, but I'm gonna need somebody to come check my car out. So
the reason for the air horn rather than the electric horn is if you do crash and break your electrical system, you have nothing to signal.
Yeah.
So the air horn is like infallible.
Yeah. But you'll notice in any hill climb car, if you go to any New England Hillclimb event, or in Frank's car for sure, and in Margaret and Manu's car for sure, there's an air horn somewhere. And everybody always asks the same thing. What on earth is this for? Well, you'd hope to never need it, but certainly I have, so.
And even if you just slide in the ditch, the first thing you hit in the front is the horn that is just behind the bumper.
Yeah.
So you try to honk and there's nothing. So that's why they have horn.
If somebody's getting into it, is there a set of rules somewhere that they can read to know what they have to do for the event?
You don't know where to find the rules, John? No, I'm kidding. John races with us. But if you go to hillclimb.org, there's a rules section on there, or if you can't find it, because sometimes the website can be a little difficult to navigate, I also have them existing in a Google Doc somewhere that I can send you.
It's in one document.
Oh yeah, we used to have multiple documents, and last winter that was my project. I made it one document, so if you want to start racing with us, you only need to read that one document.
And people can reach out to us at Frog Racing questions people have.
Yeah, so if you have technical questions for roll cages and stuff like that, I am a tech inspector with a rally organization in New England, and I issue logbooks for cages and stuff. So if you have questions, you want to build a car and stuff, you can contact us. I have a website with all the tech information for that, which covers hill climb, but also stage rally and other form of racing. So if you're interested, you can also ask us questions directly. Website, Facebook, whatever. No cell phone because you will have the French accent on the other side. You won't understand anything.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for coming out tonight. And let's thank our awesome team right back here who put it together. Make sure to say hi to them as you walk out. Look at their awesome cars and have a good night. We hope to see you at the next one. Thank you.